In honor of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom's 2-year anniversary this month, and my love of silly little guys, I'll be making these two adorable backpack Koroks named Tiko and Hollow. I won't deny that some of the creative Korok builds players have made over the years are kind of funny. But I could never bring myself to torture a Korok. Just look at them. The worst I've done to a Korok is accidentally letting one roll off a cliff. Before we get started, let's take a look at what Tiko has decided to pack for his epic Hyrule adventure. We start off with the most accessible and practical item here, a nice warm sleeping bag. Next up is this fancy leather-bound notebook and pencil for documenting his travels and sketching some of those special moments from his adventures. Here we've got a nice large electrolyte beverage for keeping Tiko hydrated, especially as he traverses the hot and arid Gerudo Desert. Ooh, and one of my favorites, fruit gummies, useful for those sweet and chewy cravings we all have. Next is the coconut oil, which is a necessity for keeping Tiko's beautiful bark moisturized. And here we have some Cheez-Its, critical for satisfying the crunchy, salty cravings that he'll inevitably have after eating all those fruit gummies earlier. We've got some Band-Aids to cover up all the unavoidable boo-boos he'll get on his adventures. Ooh, Tiko's favorite candy bar. A refreshing iced coffee to keep him awake and alert during those difficult night watches. Some yogurt to keep his gut microbiome in tip-top shape. Baby wipes, of course, to stay clean and fresh. Tiko's second favorite candy bar. And last but not least, an entire freaking watermelon. Our boy is prepared. Before getting started on my Koroks, I drew some references for them. I also drew this bloopy, which turned out kind of terrifying on my first glow clay attempt. Using some leaf green cosclay, I roll out Tiko's body. While I do that, let's look at some clips of people doing nice things for Koroks. Since I struggled so hard to find anything but clips like these, my daughter decided to help me out by sharing some of her Korok acts of kindness. After dressing up in her most fabulous gear, she greets Mr. Korok and assures him she'll reunite him with his friend. Then she gently carries him over to his friend, who was very grateful for her help. Next, in the Korok forest, she gives some of her prettiest flowers to Kula here, who was very grateful for the thoughtful gesture. And lastly, she builds Hestu a cozy little home, complete with a kitchen and comfy bed, so he can enjoy some much-needed relaxation time. For Tiko's arms, I roll out 2 little cones of clay, attach them on using my metal sculpting tool, and smooth them out with my silicone pointy tool. I do the same for Hollow, and give him a slightly different arm pose than Tiko, so that he can hold stuff if he wants to, or he can just be waving at us. Their legs get attached using a similar process with stubbier cones than the arms, and using some tinier and even stubbier cones of clay, I attach their little head horns on as well. While I prep our Korok's faces for their Pinocchio noses, let's see if I can find any other clips of players being nice to Koroks. Ah, here we go. This video by Soapy is called the Most Wholesome Tears of the Kingdom video. Oh look, he's taking this Korok on a magic dragon ride. Oh, he's probably bringing him to be reunited with his other Korok friend. What a classy way to do it. Oh, I see. Maybe I can find a better clip later. After attaching their stubby little tails onto their booties, I roll out some thin cones for Tiko and Hollow's noses. Bake them, trim them, and blend them into their respective nose holes. With their noses baked, it's time to get started on their masks, which I cut to shape from some watercolor paper and punch holes into to fit over their little Pinocchio noses. Perfect. Before painting the leaf masks, it's time to paint our Korok's bodies, starting with Tiko here. Okay, let's see if I have some better luck looking for nice Korok clips this time. Oh, this looks promising. Looks like the player is planning to take this Korok somewhere safe from the lightning. Or not. You know what? Let's pivot instead to some fun Korok facts. Every year, the Koroks gather around the Great Deku Tree to celebrate the Korok Festival. During the festival, each Korok is responsible for taking a seed from the Great Deku Tree and traveling to another island to plant the seed. Their ultimate goal is to create new forests on these islands that can eventually connect all the islands into one land. That's so sweet! While we wait for Tiko and Hollow's body paint to dry, I get started on their mask painting. One of my favorite things about Koroks is their variety of face masks and facial expressions, which reminds me of this incredible deep dive this guy did on Koroks called An Extensive Look at the Appearance of Hidden Koroks. In it, he breaks down Korok's physical attributes and even provides graphs and visual aids for his analysis. This one in particular is my favorite, and I really should have consulted this visual before painting Tiko, because as my daughter pointed out after his paint finished drying, he wasn't quite the right shade of green. So I washed off his paint and repainted him 2 lighter shades of green. Oh, and here's Hollow's mask after painting as well. With my Koroks done, it's time to get started on their backpacks. I rolled out a sheet of leather brown clay for the base of the backpack, and I shaped and baked this white clay mass with a foil center to serve as the mold for my backpack. I haphazardly wrap my brown clay sheet around the bottom of my mold, and then smooth it out the best I can with some mineral oil before popping it in the oven. Once it's cooled off, I mark off where I want to trim, and I use my Olfa knife and some small scissors to carefully trim it to a more bowl-like shape. After sanding and thinning the edge a bit, this is what it looks like. Next, I put a layer of foil inside of my faux leather bowl, so I can flatten out another smaller clay bowl inside of it. This will serve as the inner lining of our Korok backpack, to help hold the sides of the bag in place, since I'll be using glue rather than sewing this thing together. Using a little rectangle of canvas fabric, I start fumbling around trying to figure out how I'm going to glue this to the leather base without it looking incredibly warped and ridiculous. While I continue fumbling around, let's talk about some more Korok trivia. Hyrule has over a dozen geographic regions with wildly different climates. For this reason, all Hylians require very specific gear or elixirs in order to survive some of these extreme conditions. Koroks, however, seem to be resistant to all of these climates, since they can be found wearing absolutely nothing in every single region of Hyrule. This is a little strange, especially in the Goron region, where you would expect them, being plant-like creatures, to spontaneously combust, but somehow they don't. In the case of my boy Tiko, I think it's thanks to his coconut oil skincare routine. But more realistically, all Koroks are probably immune because of some undefined magical property they have. After all, they did just randomly and instantly transform from the Kokiri people into Koroks, without much explanation either. But let me know your theories in the comments. Once I figured out how to tuck the canvas fabric somewhat neatly into the clay bowl base, I used some tacky glue to combine both sheets of canvas. While I wait for my tacky glue to dry, I get started on my Korok sleeping bag. For the sleeping bag fabric, I searched around in my fabric drawer, and the only fabric I had that made sense for this was some felt. And luckily, I have dozens of colors of it left over from making felt Christmas ornaments over the years. So I was able to closely color match the sleeping bag from my reference Korok backpack. I sew some stitching along the sides to make it look a bit more visually interesting than just a literal rectangle of felt, roll it back up and admire it, and then get started on trimming the faux leather straps that will hold the sleeping bag closed. To secure the leather straps, I used 2 of these metal links from this old chain I found in my "maybe this will be useful later" crafting drawer. After bending it into shape, I attach it to my leather straps and secure the straps to the sleeping bag. I think this is my favorite component so far. So pretty. For the little front pouch of our tiny rucksack, I molded and baked this little piece of clay that I very cleanly wrapped in canvas and an excessive amount of tacky glue. To strengthen our canvas fabric and paint it its final color, I coat it with a mixture of dark brown acrylic paint and Mod Podge. Our little front pouch gets painted the same color as well, and once it and the main backpack are dry, I trim their frayed edges. Next, I paint the inside of the backpack with our paint Mod Podge mixture, mostly so it doesn't look ridiculous in there. To protect the edges of our backpack flaps from fraying and to give them a nice fancy finish, I paint them as well with my Mod Podged brown paint. Once those dry, I trim some more clay sheets into leather buckles for our backpack and front pouch. I coat a rectangle of canvas in watered down Mod Podge to stiffen the fabric before I trim it into a few backpack strap candidates. Our backpack straps also get some beautiful brown detailing on them. Next up are the little leather squares that would serve as the attachment points from the backpack straps to the backpack. I used 2 more little thin sheets of baked clay for this and give them some faux stitching details with my needle tool. The final step for my squares is getting glued onto the backpack straps with some tacky glue. For my next detailing step, I punch out several metal button candidates using my tiny circle cutter tool and paint them with some acrylic gunmetal paint. I take some strips of raw brown clay and wrap them around the already baked belts to get them looking more like proper belts. For their semi-final detailing step, I wrap a metal link around each belt to create the illusion of a belt clasp buckle situation. And with the belt loops added, wow, okay, maybe this is my favorite component, not the sleeping bag. While I haphazardly glue some more things together, let's talk some more Korok trivia. There are over 900 Koroks in Hyrule. To help you visualize it, this is a map of Hyrule. And each of these little golden turd nuggets represents the location of one Korok. And that doesn't even include the dozen or so Koroks that you can find here in the Great Hyrule Forest. Why are there so many of them? Well, no one seems to know, but I have two theories. Either each Korok is a node in a vast tree-based communication network. Together, they allow the Great Deku Tree and the spirits of the land to observe and sense what's going on in Hyrule. Kind of like weather sensors, they help nature react, adapt, and protect itself. Or the Koroks are just part of an elaborate trial set up by the Great Deku Tree to test Link's skill, patience, and kindness. Because being a giant tree can get a little boring sometimes, you know? Let me know what you think in the comments. After poking some permanent holes in my backpack, I push the backpack straps into them, and luckily they eventually make it through. Once again, I slap an excessive amount of tacky glue onto a piece of canvas and adhere it to the inside of the backpack to keep the straps from falling out. Then I carefully set it down so I don't get glue anywhere else, except this one spot. In order to attach the top half of the backpack straps to these bottom straps, I use two of my handy little metal links again. I pull my backpack straps very snugly through the links and destroy the bottom of this strap in the process. But that's okay, because I made them longer than necessary, just in case. I have Tiko wear the backpack to give me an idea of where I should glue the top of the straps, and I glue them on with some more tacky glue. For Tiko's little cup accessory, I wrap a sheet of clay around one of my circle cutters, give it a little bottom, and attach a little handle to it. What do Koroks drink, by the way? Just water? I mean, they're basically plants, so I'd hope they drink water. But I'd also like to think they drink some nice warm milk when they're having trouble sleeping, or a sneaking elixir when they're trying to play pranks on each other. Or, if they're feeling really adventurous, they might drink some monster stew, or a fancy bit of Noble Pursuit. That one looks really delicious, actually. After gluing the metal button accessories to our backpack, and to our leather straps, I glue the front pouch on with a generous amount of tacky glue. For attaching these leather straps to the canvas flaps, I used some E6000 glue for a stronger bond. I had to do this step outside because this stuff smells terrible, and it's awful to breathe in the fumes of. But I'm pretty excited that our backpack is now officially functional. Oh, and I added this wire inside of Tiko's sleeping bag to give it that satisfying sag it has in the original Korok backpack. After penciling in where I want the backpack bottom stitching to be, I carefully paint it on with my small ballpoint tool. And it's finally snack time! I swear the food scientists at Bear Bells are magicians. Either that, or this is just a straight up candy bar with no protein in it. But that's not gonna stop me from eating them. Seriously, look at this thing. Are you kidding me? So good. Alright, now all we've got left are this cute little acorn lantern and a Yahaha stick. For the lantern, since using an actual LED would have been too difficult to make work in this very small space, I decided to go with some glow clay, because as you can see again from my haunted bloopy, this stuff glows like a dang flashlight. For the ring that will attach our lantern to the backpack, I punch out 2 concentric circles onto a sheet of clay, bake it, and then make a little groove on top of our acorn hat to attach the ring on. I give it a delicious layer of cinnamon paint and some brown dry brushing before launching it into space to help it dry faster. The last layer of paint is some gunmetal for the attachment ring. For our Yahaha sticks, I roll out and bake some branch candidates, trim them to their final shapes, and glue them together with some clay glue. I'll let Hestu here explain this next step. Take it away, Hestu. With some leaves and berries glued to our stick, I finish it up with some paint detailing. After varnishing my masks, cup, and lantern with some matte Mod Podge, it's time for my favorite step, attaching our backpack accessories on with these faux leather straps. Using one of my fancy metal links again, I bend it around my clay strap so it's gripping it tightly. Then I hook the top part of my leather strap into this little canvas loop I glued to each side of my backpack. And then I fumble around trying to tighten another metal link around the top to securely hold my Koroks cup in place. And I do the same for our lantern accessory. I love this so much, I wish I could make myself a life-size version of it. And finally, it's time for our photo shoot. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.